Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück bei Metal Gear Solid 4. Ja, in der letzten Folge haben wir gesehen, wie Snake im Nahen Osten angekommen ist, und jetzt erfahren wir überhaupt mal den Grund, warum er da überhaupt hin soll. Des Mittleren Ostens, ja. Das heißt immer Mittlerer Osten, aber ja. So. Achtung, Sequenzen.
Otacon. Even the dead have ears.
Snake, we've got to go. You've got an old friend waiting for you.
Otacon. The test results.
Proteome analysis was positive, but the mRNA analysis turned up negative. The wrinkled skin, the hardened arteries. Your early aging symptoms look like classic Werner syndrome. But none of the tests were able to pinpoint the cause.
So,
Well, judging by how rapidly the aging has progressed, I'd say
a year at best, right?
yeah. Snake, let's try another doctor.
It won't make any difference. I'm not an ordinary man to begin with. Not to mention Fox die.
You're right. But we don't know where Naomi is.
Naomi.
Snake!
Colonel. Good to see you.
Well, I'm not a colonel anymore, Snake.
I figured the only place I'd see you dressed like that would be at your daughter's wedding. What are you doing these days?
I'm working for an organization under the UN Security Council. The Analysis and Assessment Staff of the PMC Oversight and Inspection Committee.
Yeah, I remember the resolution being passed a few years ago.
Snake, I came across some information in my work.
Huh?
We found him. In the Middle East.
What?
I'll explain along the way. We've got to stop him. Now. Before it's too late.
Liquid's made his move. We found him.
He's He's preparing to unleash his insurrection. Liquid is lying in wait in a Middle Eastern war zone. Track him down.
Only 2 eggs today? Solidus must have taken the day off. 7, 8, 9, 2, 5, 9, 0, 3, 6, 0, 3, 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, 5, 4, 8, 8, 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 5, 2.
The Manhattan incident triggered a serious public backlash. Now the U.S. has to think twice before intervening militarily in other countries' affairs. This has fueled a push towards military privatization, with PMCs at the heart of that movement.
PMCs? Private military companies?
That's right. PMCs have no basis in nations or ideologies. They are private enterprises, driven by profit. In addition to dispatching mercenaries to war zones, they secure weapons and train local soldiers. They're contractors for war itself, and business is good. Their clientele includes developed nations like the US, rebel factions looking to seize power by force, smaller countries lacking armies of their own, even terrorist groups. They're in the Americas, Asia, the South Pacific, Europe, Africa, the Middle East. The rise of the PMC has spawned a war by proxy, and it's spreading across the globe.
They're
Sonny, we'll eat them later, okay?
Every age has its mercenary. These PMCs are nothing new. We've been dealing with them since before the turn of the century.
No, Snake. They're nothing like the mercenaries of the past.
They're ready.
Sorry, I'm a little busy right now.
The Pentagon's new battlefield control system has produced a decisive difference between hired guns and the PMCs of today. The system was developed by Arms Tech Security.
Arms Tech? You mean AT Corp?
Yeah. In recent years, AT Corp has shifted focus from weapons development to security tools. And since the establishment of AT Security, business has been booming. The system makes it possible to integrate not only micro-level information on individual soldiers and units, but also macro-level information about field conditions and order of battle.
So they've finally achieved total real-time battlefield control.
That's right. And as a result, the global presence of PMCs has grown explosively. Truth is, the rise of system-controlled PMCs has led to a dramatic decline in civilian casualties and human rights violations on the battlefield.
A cleaner, safer battlefield. Makes for nice propaganda.
Snake! You were smoking again, weren't you? This is a non-smoking flight.
There's more. State governments and rebel groups can't match the maintenance price of standing forces. PMCs, by comparison, are reliable, easy to use. It wasn't long before everybody had them on the payroll. And, as a result, regular armies began to decline worldwide. It's hard to believe, I know, but PMCs are beginning to overtake conventional armies in terms of scale. Nowadays, it's the PMCs who serve as standard battalions. They already make up 60% of all combatant forces in zones of conflict.
60%?
The fact is, the world now depends largely on PMCs for waging its wars.
I thought it was the UN that authorized the PMCs in the first place.
The US abstained from voting on that resolution. In effect, Washington was endorsing PMCs without ever revealing its true intentions. Until they got wind of the uprising, that is.
The US has exported too much military power, and now she's paying the price.
That's exactly it. America has now turned war into a form of economic activity. Analysts are calling it the war economy, in that it's picking up the slack for the downward-sloping oil market. But I, for one, don't intend to simply stand by and watch it happen. For the PMCs, market expansion entails fanning the flames of war. It means more refugees.
War orphans. Child soldiers.
Yes. Even as PMC soldiers get more specialized, they're also getting younger.
Mercenaries spun off from state armies. Unmanned weapons. Child soldiers. Proxy battles in a new Cold War.
There are hundreds of PMCs in business worldwide, and their numbers are growing. Currently, 5 of them are big enough to be labeled global powers. 2 in the US, and 1 each in the UK, France, and Russia. Reconnaissance has revealed that those 5 PMCs are run by a dummy corporation that acts as a single mother company. This mother company embodies the 5 largest PMCs. Her name is Outer Heaven.
Outer Heaven? You mean?
That's right. It's Liquid.
Liquid?
He's taken command of this immense army and is now preparing to unleash an insurrection.
I watched him die.
His will lives on, in the body of the man once known as Ocelot. He aims to fan the flames of war even higher, to create the perfect world once envisioned by Big Boss.
The one world in which soldiers will always have a place.
He must be stopped, before it's too late. Do you understand, Snake? Any means necessary. Just stop Liquid's insurrection. Even if it means
killing him. You want Liquid dead? Isn't that right, Colonel?
I'm sorry. I know. This isn't justice. It's a covert assignment. A hired hit. A wet works op targeting the head of a major multinational corporation.
Why me?
Because of the military might of the PMCs, and the effect they have on the economy. War is to the 21st century what oil was to the 20th, the pillar that supports the global economy. You'll recall a rather alarming report issued by that American think tank during the Cold War. One that described a new model for perpetual war. What we're facing now is a whole new ballgame.
Iron Mountain's Delphi technique.
That was fiction. It existed only on paper. The reality is far more serious. The global community is concerned, but they're all too afraid of the war economy collapsing to do anything about it. The UN, too.
Huh. Sounds pretty self-serving to me.
Snake, This mission isn't an order from Washington. Not like the old days. And it's not something the UN can officially sanction either. But we can't just look the other way while Liquid plots this insurrection. If we fail to act, he'll become the greatest threat the world has ever faced. Snake. You're the only man I can trust.
Fine. Let's hear it.
Our intelligence on Liquid's uprising originally comes via reports from U.S. Special Forces, who were mobilized after we at the UN reported our findings. They're tracking Liquid's movements. About 18 hours ago, he was spotted in the Middle East.
There's a rebel army in the Middle East, made up of ethnic minorities, waging civil war against the regime in power.
The core of that regime's army is provided by one of the PMCs under Liquid's control.
What about the rebels?
The local militias have hired small numbers of operators as trainers and field commanders. And of course, they've got help from the local PMCs.
Right. A proxy war between hired guns.
PMC versus PMC. A quagmire of war. All too typical victims of the new world economy. Snake, you'll be sneaking into the conflict zone via transport truck, disguised as one of the rebel army's hired operators. Your first objective is to make contact with our informants, Rat Patrol Team 01. They'll be expecting you.
Rat Patrol, huh? They sound sneaky.
They're a special forces team assigned to the Army's PMC Investigation Unit, CID.
CID. Real rats of the Army.
No. I can vouch for them personally.
Friends of yours?
You could say that. Transportation to the area will be provided under cover of a UN humanitarian aid mission, with support from the US military. From there on, though, you'll get no protection, and no guarantees from anyone. And you must not leave behind any evidence of your involvement in the area, let alone that of the UN. If word of this ever leaked out, it would spark a global firestorm. Snake. Will you do this for me? Will you terminate Liquid?
I'm not like the PMCs. I don't need your money.
Thank you.
But if you're going to spark something, spark this. Fine. I'll start my own fire.
Seine.
me.
What's the situation?
I'm just inside the city limits. This place is crawling with lizards.
Ah, AT Corps' unmanned bipedal weapons, officially designated Irving by the US military. They've spread like wildfire among the PMCs. There are more of those things now in service than tanks. They've got tough armor plating and are highly agile to boot. Your best bet is to stay out of their sights.
Unmanned. Pretty soon they'll have put living, breathing soldiers out of work.
Even so, that's an awful lot of gecko for this scenario. Their numbers exceed the war price for that region. It must have something to do with Liquid's arrival on the scene.
You really think he's here?
You'll have to find the Army's operatives and ask them yourself. Oh, and Snake, I went ahead and used the Mark II to scout out the area before your arrival. You'll find it up ahead.
Mark II?
It's a remote mobile terminal. Sonny and I built it. The Mark II will provide you with a map of the area as well as any battle situation data. You should find it before you do anything else.
Okay, got it.
The rendezvous point is marked on your map. I'll be waiting for you there.
Tja, viel auf einmal. Die Octo-Camo, ein fortgeschrittener Camouflage-Anzug, der von den Tarnfähigkeiten des Oktopus inspiriert ist. Er täuscht das Auge und Infrarotsensoren durch seine Fähigkeit, die Farbe und Muster einer Wand und Böden nachzuahmen, wenn man sich daran hinlegt oder nicht bewegt, wenn er an einer Wand steht. Können wir ja gerne nochmal demonstrieren. Nice. Ja, von selbst ändert er, glaube ich, nicht mehr jetzt zurück zur Standardfarbe. Das müsste man, glaube ich, schon in der den Modus Tarnung gibt es hier noch nicht. Ja, ist egal. Gut. Tja, wir haben Sonny in dem komischen Flugzeug kennengelernt. Wer das jetzt genau ist, ich meine, diejenigen, die das Game kennen, die wissen es schon längst. Wer es noch nicht kennt, ja, man erfährt es noch. Und sie ist ein kleines Genie. Was heißt klein? Eigentlich ist sie vielleicht sogar intelligenter als Otacon. Also, an der Stelle mache ich hier in der nächsten Folge weiter. Gab ja einiges zu besprechen mit dem Roy Campbell, dem Colonel. Und ja, wir werden in der nächsten Folge uns auf die Suche nach diesem Mark II machen. Also, bis dahin. Tata!